The Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, Chapter 5, Part 10. I waited until the rumbling of the voices had died away as the last group of roisterers broke up and the solitary wind eaters, scattered along the streets, disappeared one by one into their bamboo dwellings. Leaving my door fastened on the inside, I sprang lightly through the window, and under cover of the deep shadows made my way unnoticed to the outskirts of the town. Here I broke into a sharp run, for at very most I would have but 6 hours' start of the wind eaters, and that was far too little, for as I've already told you, they flit along like phantoms when in a fasting condition, and even when pretty well filled, are very swift of foot, more especially if the air be quiet, so as not to impede their advance. On I sped, with a desperate resolve to make such a good use of my start as to make it impossible for them to overtake me. To my horror, after about an hour's run, I noticed that my legs were beginning to tire. This was a terrible blow to me. For a few moments I staggered along half unconscious of where I was, whither I was hastening, and of the awful danger threatening me. All at once the truth of the matter broke upon me. I was but the wreck of my former self. The long months of fish diet had robbed my muscles of that wonderful strength and elasticity which was once my pride and my chief dependence in moments of peril. Frail as I had grown, my legs now bent beneath me. Slower and slower grew my pace. My heart seemed to swell and shut out the very breath of life. On, ever onward, I toiled with a desperate effort to escape my pursuers, whose rumbling voices, it half seemed to me, were faintly booming in the distance. But nature would do no more. I reeled, I staggered, I stopped, I fell. How long I lay there, I know not. But when I came to myself, I could plainly feel that change in the air which tells of the coming day. The rippling of a brook fell on my ear. I dragged my aching body in the direction the sound came from. A deep pull at the cool, clear water of the brook refreshed me somewhat. I attempted to rise, but oh, new loss of hope, to discover that my joints had stiffened while sleeping on the ground, uncovered, yes, even ill-clad, for I had left one piece of my clothing hanging on the windowsill of my lodge in the village to quiet any suspicion which might arise in the minds of the serving men. Thoughts of home, however, of the elder baron, of the gentle baroness, my mother, of my loved Bulger, flitted through my fevered brain, and prompted me to make one more effort to regain my feet and escape death at the hands of Chief Switch's enraged people, who would soon be bounding along uphill and down dale like spirits of the wind as they were. A groan escaped my lips as I rose to my feet, so like knife points in my joints were the pains which shot through my frame. But I must try to be up and away, even though the effort cost me 1,000 agonizing twinges. I owe it to the loved ones at home to push on till I fall utterly broken, till, like a stricken beast, robbed of the power to stand, I should topple and fall at the feet and at the mercy of my pursuers. Such were the thoughts which oppressed my poor reeling brain. A terrible mystery, a torturing dream weighed me down. I still had my mind. I could see, I could feel, I could hear. And why should I not rise and move onward and away from the certain death which hovered over me? Crazed by such thoughts, I struggled to my feet and staggered along, sending forth a groan with every step. But I had steeled myself to the task and dragged myself along, still oppressed by some strange and mysterious power, which gave to every pebble the rock size and widened every gully to a yawning chasm, on the brink of which I paused in sickening fear of plunging into some black abyss. And yet, oh joy! Gradually the films faded from my eyes. The mysterious power lifted its spell from my brain. I felt more like myself. I saw clearer, My step grew firmer. Now at last, thought I, all is going well, when suddenly a long blue-gray streak of light flashed along over the heads of the hills and the far distant eastern sky. It was the signal of morning. Again, with a groan, I sank on my knees, caught myself, rose half dazed, pressed on again, slowly, slowly, every step jarring on my heated brain like a hammer's blow, but still onward, onward. A terrible grip as of some giant hand, palm of iron and fingers of steel, set itself on my very vitals. The thought that even now my escape was known to my enemies, that the phantom wind-eaters armed with their nets and clubs were flitting out of the streets of Chief Switch's village, charged to carry me back alive to a worse death than death itself, or slay me for having broken faith and set the face of honesty over my fraud and deceit, seemed to paralyze my limbs and rob me of the little strength I had left. Still on and ever onward I struggled, like one in the dull stupor of the wine cup. Fast, too fast that streak of gray dawn lengthened and widened, and the orb of day shot up through the morning shadows, a message of light here and there, now weak and fitful, now stronger and farther reaching. I saw them, I felt them, for in my dread of them they seemed to flash toward me and strike my half-closed eyes, as if knocking at the windows of my soul and rousing me to move out of death's harm. For a brief moment, I halted, as if expecting some fond, familiar voice to ring in my ears. It came. It was the gentle Baroness, my mother. Gently, softly, sweetly, the well-known voice floating on the morning air, bidding me take heart, calling me by name just as in childhood's days, and saying, "My baby, my boy, my son, my darling, rouse thee, press on quickly." And then I took heart. The fearful clamp set on my breast relaxed its hold. I could feel my strength returning, but oh, so slowly, so slowly. Still, it was on its way back at last. I could feel my feet grow lighter. With some effort, I quickened my pace almost to a run. On and on I sped now, every instant giving me new strength, every motion sending the warm blood tingling to my fingers' ends. The spell had been lifted. I was myself again. Swifter and swifter my pace quickened until I flew along as in days of old, when with ease I left all comers far behind me. Methought I could almost hear the plash of the waves on the snow-white sands of that beautiful harbor where my good ship lay. On and ever onward, I sped with a new and mysterious strength. I was astounded at my own deeds. I was almost afraid, so fast I was bounding along, lest again some demon of the air should touch my limbs and stay my course. But hark! Didn't you hear that deep rumble? The sky is clear. It cannot have been the voice of the storm fiend. Ha! Again! Deeper and clearer than before. That hoarse, low, muttering rumble, half roar, half growl, comes borne along on the wings of the awakened dawn. Lost, lost, lost. It is the cry of the pursuers. It is the voice of the enemy. Those children of the air are on my track. They follow me with leap and jump. What madness to think to outrun them. Let me halt and die like a man. Look how they bound along over the plain. Swift and noiseless are their steps, phantoms that they are. I halt, I turn, I grasp my firearm. Too late. A score of entangling nets envelop me. I struggle only to entwine myself the more. Arms, hands, legs, feet are twisted in wretched confusion. I sway, fall, roll over, wrapped round and round in the dreadful tangle. And now, down upon my defenseless body comes a rain of sharp, stinging blows. Deep, rumbling cries fill the air and keep time in a wild way with the shower of blows rained on my face and head and hands. As they continue, they seem to increase in strength. The pain, bearable at first, now becomes excruciating. The light goes out of my eyes, swollen shut, as they are beneath this cruel pelting. 1,000 ringing sounds assail my ears. My brain reels. I'm going, dying. Then, hark again. You cannot hear it? Your ears would not know it. But mine do, mine do. 'Tis Bulger's bark, and I am saved. Faster and faster the wind eaters ply their clubs. I do not heed them. I do not feel them now. For nearer and nearer comes the joyous music. 'Tis here. I am strong again. I rise half up, my lips move. I speak, I cry out. Quick, good Bulger, or all is lost. A single glance at the terrible plight of his little master tells him all. With a howl of rage, his dark eyes shooting flames, he throws himself upon the heels of the wind eaters. His sharp teeth pierce like needles. Crack! Again and again he sends his fangs through the skin of a wind eater. Crack! Crack! Their clubs cease swinging. A cry of horror goes up as for the fourth time good Bulger's teeth pierces the heel of a wind eater and sends his body with a loud retort to vanish into thin air. They return. They break away in wild dismay. They fly for their lives, casting away their clubs and abandoning their victim. I could see no more. It grew black. A vertigo seized me. I tried to free my hands to touch my loved Bulger, for death, I thought, had come. When life came back, Bulger was licking my hands and face and whining piteously. He had gnawed the netting free from the limbs of his little master. With a cry of joy and a burst of tears, I caught that faithful, loving creature to my breast. At that instant, distant shouts came floating over the hills. They came from my sailing master and his relief party. I could not answer, but Bulger raised his head and sent forth a few sharp barks to tell them where we were. In a short half hour, they were at my side. After my bruised face and hands had been bathed in cool water, and I had swallowed a few mouthfuls of wine, I felt strong enough to get on my feet and move slowly forward. Bulger walked proudly by my side, pausing ever and anon to look me in the face, meaning to ask, "How goes it with thee, little master?" Once on shipboard, strengthened by good food and cheered by the comforts of my cabin, I was not long in getting my health back. After a week's rest, I gave orders to weigh anchor and turn our good ship's head northward, for I was anxious, very anxious, to see the elder Baron and the gentle Baroness, my mother, and tell them all about the wonderful things I had seen. And we'll get busy with Chapter 6 in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys, as Tigger says. Ta-ta for now.